Hello and welcome to the magic of fishing. Today you join me on a sublime summer morning. It really is magical, and I'm up way before my normal alarm clock. It's not yet 5:30. I was up at 4:30, and boy am I glad I did that. I've just enjoyed the most beautiful, breathtaking walk down to my local River Wey in Surrey, and it really was a reminder I'm lucky to live in a beautiful part of the world. And at this time of year, it really is at its best. This video goes out to all you anglers that do that regularly. Get up with the birds. And although it's June and the sun was already well above the horizon, to enjoy this kind of splendour on a regular basis, I'm very jealous. Normally work and my sheer laziness gets in the way, but I think this is a reminder also that it really is worth making the effort sometimes. But it is a morning tinged with emotion for me. It was to be the start of an annual Summerfest that I hold with my good old mate Andy from up in Sheffield. We first fished together for the Sheffield Juniors back when we were teenagers, but we've stayed in touch since I moved down south 25 years ago. And if you've been watching some recent videos of mine, you'll know that he's been quite ill. A chest infection that affected his heart, and he did spend a bit of time in hospital. I'm really glad to say he's getting better, on the mend now, but it is a slow process and he just wasn't quite up to making it down. We were both pretty devastated, and he was supposed to be here enjoying all this scenery with me, as well as breakfast at favourite cafes and a beer in a local pub tonight. But a festival of fishing for 2 or 3 days that we normally hold each summer, and today I'm doing it alone. And we all know that angling has so much to offer. Sometimes it's bliss to do it alone, sometimes it's fantastic to do it with good mates and have a bit of social alongside. So mixed feelings, but this video goes out to you as well, Andy, and I know you're getting well, but keep improving, mate. Health is everything, and your long-term well-being is the main thing. Plenty more fishing trips to come. But yeah, I'm, as always, excited to be able to share another day on the bank with you, and it really is going to be a special day, even if I don't catch much. I think before we get fishing, I'll just show you some of the natural beauty that I've enjoyed on the way here. hope you agree that was magic in itself. Here's the spot I've chosen. It's a favourite swim that Andy will recognise, somewhere that I've fished just below him a number of years, and the mist still coming off the water. It is now getting a bit later in the morning and we should get fishing before too long, but I'm taking my time. And we have had one major malfunction this morning, which is my normally very trusty Coram barrow chair has decided to break a welding. So I'm going to be sat flat on the bank today, but that's no problem. I like fishing with my eye level close to the water. Just a bit concerning that that may be a bit of kit that served me many years and is going to need replacing. There you can see I'm fishing just above a wide bend where the river continues down to Walsham Weir. For any locals watching, you'll know the spot. You can't quite see it from here, but further up there are two rivers and a stream that join together just below a ruined abbey, Newark Priory it's called. And there's a lovely tree-lined far bank that sweeps down to where I'm fishing. There can be a problem with pennywort on here, but as you can see there are only very small amounts on the far bank. That can grow into really invasive rafts by the end of the summer, but it's only mid-June, we've got a whole summer ahead of us, whole new season. This is only my second time on the river, so let's get cracking. And as you know, I don't use a keep net very often in my pleasure sessions, generally save it for the matches that I take part in every summer, especially up north. But yeah, in Andy's honour, and to see what kind of bag of fish we can put together today, it's going to be very hot, very bright and very still. Lovely for fishing in, but not great for fishing and catching fish. So it may be that we can't get too many biggies today. I can only stay until the afternoon, hence the very early start, and yeah, we'll just see how many small fish we can catch, maybe a few better ones amongst them, but it'd be nice to fish with a net for once and see what we end up with in another few hours. Just about to plumb up on the float, although I'm very familiar with this stretch and know roughly that I can expect 10 or 11 foot out in the middle, got 9 or 10 foot down in the margins, and it's a very slow, steady stretch. We've got no wind, as I say, today at all. It's completely still, and the sun is now just about to come over the treetops. But I want to get this waggler rig, and that's what I'm going to fish today. Straight peacock waggler. I want to get it so the bait is going to be just tripping along the bottom. And I love this style of fishing on a slow or indeed fast river, but if you've got some serious pace, then I do tend to fish a bollo or a stick. But with this depth down the middle and a nice slow run, waggler's perfect. Just a straight float, no insert, because we want a bit of buoyancy. They're not shy biting fish. Roach, dace, maybe a chub, perch. That's just about right. It wasn't far off to begin with. And it's shotted up with number 8 droppers, about 5 or 6 of them, down to a 2-pound bottom and a size 18, fine wire size 18, which we'll use for a couple of maggots or a single caster. And I've also brought a feeder rod with me, which I'm going to put out first on the far bank, and we'll fish the tip for the first half hour while we just feed up the waggler line, hopefully get any fish there in a really confident mood. So that's plumbed up. Let's get the feeder out, see what's out there. Clipped up about 4/5 the way across. And that'll keep our lines distinct, so we're not competing for the same fish. I'm probably going to have to get my shades and take off a couple of layers. It was single digits overnight. We're still in early summer and a bit of a northerly wind blowing yesterday, so down to 9 degrees this morning, and I came out in my hoodie and a thermal layer, t-shirt. Now that sun's risen above the far trees, I think we'll be down to a t-shirt pretty quickly. Really isn't a breath of wind. Let's start feeding that waggler line straight down the middle, pretty much. I feed the hemp a little bit further downstream than the casters because it is a heavier, more dense bait that sinks quicker, and you want that feed landing roughly the same area. Little twitch there on the tip, first chuck, probably a small gudgeon or dace, but lovely to see that tip go. A few little taps and I can actually feel it through the rod. We've got our first fish, first chuck. And we've lost our first fish, first chuck. But on a morning like this, it's going to take more than that to wind me up. Yeah, maggot shredded, so I imagine that was a small roach. We'll just go for a couple this time. But very encouraging sign that there's a few fish about. And I love all forms of fishing, you know me. But I've got to say, I love river fishing more than anything, and wild water, running water, wild fish, the work for your bites sometimes. But you can have a real red letter day on here if you get it right. I don't think that's going to be today with the bright conditions. But it's a very healthy river, certainly away from the dreaded sewage farms. Lots of small fish as well as big chub, some carp, barbel in other stretches, but it's far too slow for the barbel here. This is more bream, roach, a few rudd, all sorts really. That's another factor I love about river fishing. You just don't know what's going to pull the tip round next or take that float down. Let's keep that feed going down the middle. I brought plenty of bait with me today, partly because Andy was due to be with me, so I had to honour my order from Apollo Angling, and I felt like I should honour my order, and I've got lots of bait to get through in the next few days. Bit of a solo festival of fishing, so there may be some further videos from the next few days, but I'll probably spread them out over the summer. There's another nice bounce on the tip. Didn't hit him that time, but again, very encouraging. There's a few fish out there. That's better. Got the layers off, shades on. The sun's really strong already, even though it's still early in the morning. And it's a really special time to be on the river. I mean, not quite as special as when I first got here with the mist rising and the sun's still yet to get above the trees, but it's just peaceful, calm. Saw a few crazy lady wild swimmers when I got to the car park. They'd already been in the river before I got to the river, and it is a stretch that can get very busy with canal boats, paddle boarders, swimmers, walkers, cyclists, but you know, the countryside's for everyone. It's just nice to get an hour or two of it to myself before too many more people come along the path or up the river. And I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to see the tip or not, because it really is against the sun now. Without shades and a cap, it'd almost be impossible to look at. Little touch there. Oh, we've got him. What is it? Just worth risking the swing there, but that is a lovely dace. Plump. Early season dace. Let's get the disgorger. That was a cracking start. First fish on the feeder. And we can put him in the net. Hopefully to spend a few hours with lots of his mates. Great start. And we've got another on the feeder. Not on pellet. Gave it 2 or 3 long chucks. And there was no indications. So I think we are talking largely small fish out there for the moment. That's another lovely little dace. And here's another thing I wouldn't normally do on a pleasure session, but in Andy's honour, we'd normally be counting fish as well as weighing them at the end. That's number 2. Well, we couldn't quite make it a hat trick on the feeder, but we've now given that waggler line a good 45 minutes, maybe even an hour of feed, and there's plenty of small stuff on that feeder line, lots of crush maggots, very quick tappy style bites that I couldn't quite hit. So time to get the float rod out, give it a go. And I really have been itching to see that bright red tip inch its way down the middle of the river. It's a tactic that's worked really well for Andy and I over the years. That could have been dragging bottom, could have been a first bite, hard to say. But we've really found it can transform our luck at times. You know, we've perhaps started off on the feeder and given it a good few hours, getting fish here and there, or we've been fishing stick float down the inside and it's gone a bit quiet, especially on these hot summer days like this where it's really bright. It's not classic fishing conditions, definite bite that, but very quick one, hard to hit. And what we've found is, with this particular stretch of the river, is if you keep that feed going in that extra deep water, even on a bright sunny day, you can stimulate those fish into feeding and pull a few fish from upstream, from downstream. There's a helicopter, disturbs the peace. There've not been many people down here at all so far, still early. I'd expected 1 or 2 joggers, but no, just this helicopter going right overhead. And as soon as that helicopter disappeared, we got our first bite, first proper berry bite, really just sank away. And we've got a third little dace. Oop. The smallest one yet, but I expect that on the waggler to begin. Start off with a smaller fish and hopefully work your way up to some better stamp roach and dace. Just the one species so far, starting on, get rid of that crushed skin. There we go. Just single maggot to begin with. So we're off the mark on the float. It really is already feeling like a scorcher early on in the morning. It's an absolute joy to be watching a float down the middle of the river and knowing there's a few fish there already. Might not be big ones, but I really don't care. You may have seen my recent video on the first day of the season, which was another magical morning, another fantastic day. Really enjoyed running an Avon style float down on the centre pin. But if you have seen that, I'll try and put a link below if I remember. You'll know that I did struggle for bites. Another really bright sunny day. And although I had a nice little chub and a baby barbel, which was beautiful to see, it wasn't an action-packed session in terms of bites. So as much as I love trying for better fish, variety is the spice of fishing, and it's great to be just fishing with casters and hemp again, having a go for anything that swims, and hopefully we'll put a few fish in the net. I'm actually expecting my wife Rachel to come down and see me. It's a weekday, I've got the day off work, which makes this even more special to be sat where I am today. And that's taking my bait, but yeah, Rachel may pop down and see me, and it does feel like a bit of a festival, even if there's no Andy this time. We'll still do plenty of fishing this year, and it's just a shame the trophy will remain with me this summer. Hopefully I'll get to compete for it again and maybe win it back this time next year. That's a nice first roach, second species of the day, and that came after a bit of adjustment. I've bunched together some of the number 8s as a small bulk about 3/4 of the way down to get past any small stuff near the surface, and then we've got a couple of droppers below that, and we're now fishing single caster. That's another one with another more confident bite. Very next cast. Lovely roach. Oh, right, it shows how risky it was swinging that just on the edge of the swinger, good 4 ounce or so. But a second nice roach and 2 chucks since going with bulk shotting. There he goes. I've got to say, changing that shotting pattern really has transformed my early fortunes. Getting down past the small bleak and dace that are flashing at the casters and hemp as it's hitting the water, and getting the bait down near the deck, and the shotting has also given me more positive bites. We're not quite at double figures yet, but some nice roach and dace up to 4 ounce or so. And despite these really bright, hot conditions, I think we might actually get a few today, which is really nice after such a glorious start to the day. I know this river, or this stretch of the river, can throw up some good catches on the right day, and I obviously wanted to share that with you. But with the bright sun forecast, I did wonder whether it might be hard going, but that's number 10 and we're off to a decent start now. I've just switched to a bigger size 16 hook. The 18 was okay for a single bait, but now I've got that bait down near the deck using the bulk shotting pattern. I wanted to fish a bigger bait, double caster. Some nice stamp fish starting to come along now. Just letting off a little bit of line every so often and running that float right down the middle. It's also why I like to feed hemp alongside the caster. When you've got a lot of small fish like bleak and dace, they can be like piranhas taking the casters or the maggots off the surface. So a nice heavy bait like hemp gets past those smaller fish and keeps them roach and maybe chub interested nearer the bottom of the swim and the bottom of the water. And considering how bright it is, I think that is where the better fish are wanting to be, down near the bottom away from the bright sunlight. That's where they feel more confident feeding. So long as we don't get a few pike come up and start harassing the shoals, I'm sure we'll get plenty of bites today. That's another better one. Still not quite a netter, but lovely dace that. There you go. Real silver bar. And at this point, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I should offer you my usual sincere and humble thanks for your continued support. It really means a lot. Makes all the effort worthwhile. I love sharing my fishing adventures with you and either entertaining or possibly inspiring a few of you to get back on the bank. Helping to put a smile on the face of those who maybe can't get on the bank at the moment. This is another nice fish, probably a roach. But yeah, your continued views, comments, particularly the comments, really do put a smile on my face. So whether you're a regular comment maker or someone who's new to the channel or been watching for a while but never commented, please do. He's unhooked himself in the net and that is an absolutely cracking roach. Just look at that blue sky. It's only just 10 in the morning, but feels like I could be in Spain or southern France. Not a cloud. And that is a third species. Might be a babby. That's a tiny chub. I really am getting through the bait. It's probably lucky I can't be here all day and into the evening, or I'll be calling for backup, although yeah, if Rachel comes along later she could actually bring me some. Just casting downstream, not by a lot because it is so slow here. Pulled out a few more casters. And now it's just running down. Float's just settling. Bait's probably getting to the bottom about now. I'm just putting a little line off the spool. Got the bail arm open, finger poised over the spool and missed that one. But yeah, we're letting it run down with the bail arm open and one finger just poised over the lip of the spool. If we see a bite, finger dabs down to trap the line and we hopefully connect with the fish before re-engaging the bail arm and playing them in. But really, I'm feeding regularly, quite heavy now. I think there's plenty of bait getting intercepted up in the water. But with the help of the hemp, there's plenty of bait also making it down to the deck. That's where I'm getting the better bites and the better fish. Little dip there. And we're in. Fishing double caster. Only a small one, this. And that's how easy it can feel when the fish are having it. And the weather's nice. Just glad I've got you folks along for the ride. This really is a magic day on the river. Combined with that early start and the mist coming off the river. And now getting plenty of bites on rod and line. Couldn't really wish for more, apart from maybe an England win later tonight. Oh, that's a better fish. Apologies, we've got yet another helicopter coming over. I seem to be out and about today. That was a really nice dace. Beautiful fish. I am happy. Might just about be a netter, just to be safe. And it's another little chub. Lovely mix of species early on. Oh, lively. There we go. Whoa. When you're feeding positive with the hempen caster, that's what you can expect. Hopefully we'll get a bigger one before the day's out. And if I had a wish, other than being able to do summer fest with Andy as usual, it would be to know where these roach go in the winter. Some seasons I've managed to find them and I've absolutely filled my boots on stick float or bolo, including some really nice fish, nudging up to a pound. But the river is full of them in summer, absolutely thick with them at times. I think a pike may have had a go at that then. Felt a sudden lunge. And they're nice fish too. Actually, this is another clonking dace. But yeah, the roach do shoal up. Lovely fish. Roach do shoal up here in winter, and if you're on them, you're on them, and if you're not, you're not. And this was one of those years when even some well-known haunts of previous seasons didn't show up any fish. Well, no roach and dace, should I say. Keep that feed going in. Instant bite. That's probably on the drop, even with that bulk shot down the line. Casting well past where I'm feeding and drawing the float back. There's a tiny ripple now, breeze coming upstream, which is adding to the feeling that this is a near perfect day. Just helps slow the float up a little bit, eases the bait through a bit more naturally, and as long as you sink your line, it won't be affected by the breeze pushing up. I use a neutral buoyancy float line, specialist float line, so that it doesn't sink really deep. Just goes under the surface and hangs there. And that helps you on the strike connect with more fish. I think we'll go back onto caster. I was just trying double maggot. Not had a perch yet. That'd be nice to add to the species, or a gudgeon or a bleak. But yeah, not really asking for a lot more at this stage. Really enjoying every minute, and I hope you are too. I imagine this will make for quite a feature-length film. First boat. Cheshire. So it said on the side of the boat, a long way from home, fellow northerners. And the boat was called Obsession. I've definitely got an obsession with fishing. But it's not been too busy at all. Apart from the helicopters. I'm thinking there must be a big event this weekend. Might be the races at Windsor, Royal Ascot, sorry, near Windsor, and some very wealthy people getting helicoptered in perhaps, but yeah, a lot busier than normal. A better one, roach, just about swingable that. Whoa. Solid fish. There really are some nice examples, and that is brilliant. Only a small one, but brilliant because we've got ourselves a stripey. Beautiful little fish. You've got to say the river fish are marked much better in general than certainly commercial day ticket fish, but most still water perch. Look at that for markings. And that of course is our fourth species. We've got roach, dace, chub and perch. Just come up to 30 fish. You know me, it's not normally about the numbers, but it is something Andy and I like to do because we're effectively fishing a mini match against each other, all for fun. But I also like keeping account on some pleasure sessions, particularly on the river, when you can sort of compare days. Missed that one. You know, for example, I know one of the Summerfest days last year, I called it the ton-up day because I managed over 100 fish. I think that was the first time one of us had managed over 100 fish from a natural venue like this, from a river. And that was another red letter day. Some really big bream in amongst the roach and dace, fish up to 5 or 6 pound, which in a river you really know about hooking, especially on light float gear. I think I had them on Bolo from memory, fishing down the margins. And that was another day like this where the sun shone, the fish bit, and we ended up in a pub with a couple of pints and a meal. And days don't get much better than that, from a fishing point of view anyway. And aside from being alone, this is following in the footsteps of that kind of day. Not in terms of numbers of fish, and I must say obviously filming, chatting away to you folks at home does slow things up a little bit. I'd probably be up to about 50 fish now if I wasn't filming. Rough estimate, but again, it's not about the numbers, it's just nice to put a net of fish together. It's a rare treat. And to think that I'd normally be working, sat at home, where I do a lot of my work from in my current role, staring at a screen and typing away, emails, texts, Teams messages and calls. This is about as far opposite on the spectrum of pleasure as you can get. I do love many of my work colleagues dearly, but I'd swap my job for catching fish in a heartbeat. And I did have one on there but bumped him off. I'll give it another half hour and then perhaps stop for a bite to eat and chuck the feeder back over, see if there's anything out there. Just feeding the friendly swan. We'll have my lunch. Feeder's out, but not had any indication on that. I don't think we've got any bream in this peg, or they're not feeding at the moment anyway. Certainly not feeding like this swan. Hello again and welcome to the afternoon. I've had a nice leisurely lunch, a couple of sarnies and some amazing ginger cake my wife made. It's a tradition when Andy comes down, we always get at least one if not two different cakes. Today was an amazing ginger cake with stem ginger and ginger wine in it. Proper nice. And yeah, you would have liked that, Andy. But yeah, I had a good half hour on the tip. No action on the pellet, and I don't think there's anything decent over on that far side at the moment. It's a great place for chub, but usually in the evenings. And if you're on the bream, you're on them, and if you're not, you're not. But I'm really happy going back on the waggler now. Another dramatic event is that the sun has gone behind a cloud for the first time since it rose above the horizon. And God, it's a nice bit of relief, to be honest. It's not crazy hot, but I think the forecast was for about 24 degrees, and it's first proper scorcher of the year, really. So yeah, talking to Rachel, she's going to come down shortly for the last hour or so, hour or two, and I actually did ask her to bring another pint of casters with her. It's been that good. Really been spraying them in. And despite that, the better fish have been staying down on the bottom, and I think that's the hemp. Regular feeding that heavy hemp, extra large grains, get straight to the bottom, oil's leaking off, and that's keeping some decent fish down near the bottom where they're a bit more catchable than up near the surface. Just a bit rusty after that lunch break, but the bites are still there. And we'll see how many more we can get. We're approaching 40, which, considering I've now spent probably an hour and a half on the feeder, not catching too much, is pretty good going in amongst the filming and nattering with you folks at home. But yeah, there's probably been 5 or 6 boats in the last 20 minutes alone, and a few paddle boarders. So it's definitely got a bit busier now we're into the afternoon. It really is dream fishing, for me at least. Really quality dace and roach. Certainly by the River Wey standard anyway. They really do give a good account of themselves in this running water, deep water. This is a bit better. I think we may have another chub, a rub-a-dub chub. Nice to use the net. Oh, only just hooked. That's a lovely chub. Little, but pristine, and a good little scrapper. Hopefully it won't jump out my hand. Probably knocking on half a pound. Only just swingable, these fish. They are just lining up now, but I think so is a pike. It's either a much better fish or we've been piked, and I suspect, yep, the latter. Just let go. Surprising we've come this far without any trouble, to be honest, and this one's almost got away with it. Really plump dace, just lost a few scales and a split in his fins. Ah, that lovely upstream breeze has just started up again, cooling me off, holding the float up. Perfect. And I have actually been in WhatsApp contact with Andy a couple of times over lunch, just to let him know I was having a great day without him, poor bloke. And I did mention my legendary Coram barrow chair had finally met its maker. I can't understand what went wrong, to be honest. Set it up and wheeled it down to the river as normal, and it seems a bit of the welding's gone. Just sheared off. But I wasn't even sitting on it. Just noticed it when I started unloading, so I think that's a very rare and unusual fault on what's an otherwise exceptional bit of kit. I mean, I'm not sponsored by anyone, but that chair has been serving me well for best part of a decade. I think it was a birthday present, and it's just brilliant to have something to take a bit of extra gear along when you want to either walk a long way or take a fair bit of gear to the riverside or lakeside. And once you're done with the barrow, handle and wheel come off and it's your fishing chair. Seeing as all my match gear's up in Sheffield with my dad, it's been a really essential part of my fishing gear for many a year. I'll have to give them a ring and see what they say, but it's been around the block a bit, so maybe I can't complain. Oh, that was right at the bottom of the swim. Good little roach. Oop. Another self unhooker. What's that take us to? 44. Don't know what that is in bingo numbers, or I'd call it out. Already I'm thinking, well, John, you've got to get to 50 before Rachel comes. She was already planning to come down and have a little natter, enjoy the peace and quiet, maybe read a book or something, but I'm actually going to need her now to help me get the gear back to the car. She's only 5 foot on a good day, so she can be my little mini Sherpa. Is it or isn't it? Yes. Folks, we have a bleak. That is the most excited you'll hear me about catching a bleak, but really is about species as much as anything for me and Andy on these summer festivals, and that is a rare example of Wey bleak. And we're starting to catch well again now. It took me a little while to ease my way back into it. That's another lovely clonking roach. Just hooked. Another pristine dace. And I'm pretty sure we've got a pike on. Had to happen at some point. We've also got a boat coming, so I either need to coax it a bit closer or it needs to let go of its free lunch before the boat comes. At the moment it's just plodding in the margin. Luckily the boat is way over and it's let go. Bitten off, so he's got his free lunch. That's the first hook I've lost all day. Let's get set up again. Just stepping up to a 3.6 bottom. Same 16 super spade. And the reason I've gone up a touch with the line strength is partly the pike, now he's in the area, but also we're getting near the end of the session, another hour or so to go, and I'd hate to lose anything better. Added benefit of having a super sharp new hook. This is a bit better. Right at the end of the swim, float buried, and this time I don't think it's a pike, but we will see. It is hanging steady like a pike, but it felt quite big from the strike, so unless it grabbed it immediately, taking my time even on that £3 bottom. You see how deep the margins are here, considering we're fishing 10 foot deep. Oh, it's off. And it was a pike. Well, there's not much left of that poor roach. I should have known it was a pike from the way it was plodding. Oh, the fish are still coming. Probably only got half an hour left. And Rachel is now with me. She's staying off camera for the moment. But I've had an extra pint of casters and I'm absolutely ladling them in now. Doesn't seem to be slowing down the bites. If anything, making them a bit more hittable. They really are having it today. And I really wouldn't have expected it looking at the forecast. Feeling this heat on my back. Again, it's this depth of water. The fact we're early in the season, the fish haven't seen fisherman's feed or angler's feed for 3 months. And they are really, really in the mood. So we're down to the last half pint of casters, got through nearly 4 pints, 3 of hemp. Luckily that's nice and cheap, home cooked. And we're down to the last half hour of fishing too. It's been an epic session and I won't feel too sorry to finish knowing that there'll be a cold pint on the way home. Sometimes find on this river, as the session wears on or the sun gets higher, it pays to feed more hemp and cut out the caster, and that can sometimes bring you better bites. When the going gets tough, but today pretty much been feeding 50-50, 1 pouch of each, and they've been lapping it up. And another dace comes in. Really has been a memorable day. Another chub. And that'll be the heavy feed, the extra heavy feed. Bringing the big greedy guts up the swim. Not had any really biggies, but another nice one. There we have it, folks. Not often I use a keep net, but what a net. I've just weighed them, roughly 12 pounds, about 70 fish, up to half a pound. A few nice chublets like that. Some lovely roach, dace, perch. We've not had any gudgeon, but we've even got a bleak in there, and I'm really made up with that. But let's get them back before we say our goodbyes. Well folks, we are at the end of a very long day, but what an enjoyable day. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and if you stayed with me till the end, thanks very much. If one thing's come of Andy not being able to make it down for Summerfest, it's that I've been able to film this very special day by the river and share it with not only him but the rest of you, and that really is a privilege. It's been a magic day on running water, one of the best I can remember, certainly this year, and I'm really glad to be able to share it with you as always. I love getting your comments, so if you're either a regular contributor or new to the channel, please do leave your thoughts below. It makes my day when you do that, and if you're not already in this club, please hit the subscribe button. It only takes a second and means a lot. Gives me the enthusiasm to carry on whenever I've got the time to do this. If you are already in the club, thanks as always. Give it a like, share it with your mates, and I look forward to seeing you again soon on the bank.